Good morning. Come on in and sit with me for a few minutes. I was thinking about something this morning while I was making breakfast for Jake. After you've been married for a long time, you have a lot of mornings to think. Some of those mornings make you smile, some make you laugh, and every now and then, one reminds you of a lesson you learned years ago. Can I ask you something? Have you ever looked across the room at your husband and thought, what happened to us? Not because you don't love him, not because he doesn't love you, but because somewhere along the way, the friendship doesn't feel quite like it used to. I remember a season like that in our marriage. It wasn't a terrible season. Nothing dramatic had happened. There wasn't one big argument that changed everything. In fact, if someone had looked at us from the outside, they probably would have thought everything was just fine. Jake was going to work. I was taking care of our home. The bills were getting paid. The boys needed us. Life was moving right along. And yet, I remember thinking one day, when was the last time we just enjoyed each other? Not talked about bills, not talked about what needed fixing, not talked about who had a doctor's appointment, just enjoyed each other. Looking back now, I don't think either one of us noticed what was happening. Life wasn't trying to hurt our marriage. Life was simply asking more and more from us. Have you ever noticed that? When you're first married, you have time. Then children come. Careers grow. Parents get older. The washing machine breaks. The car needs tires. Someone has a doctor's appointment. The grandchildren need you. Then, before you know it, your conversations start sounding more like business meetings than a marriage. Did you pay that bill? What time is your appointment? Can you pick this up from the store? Don't forget. None of those conversations are wrong. They're part of building a life together. But one day I realized something. We had become really good at managing life while slowly forgetting to nurture the relationship that made the life possible in the first place. That realization stayed with me, not because I thought our marriage was over, but because I didn't want us to spend years living beside each other instead of truly living with each other. Now, let me tell you something I didn't understand back then. I thought closeness disappeared because people stopped loving each other. Looking back, I don't believe that's what happened to us at all. I think we were simply tired. We were carrying responsibilities. We were doing what grown-ups do, building a family, building a home, building a future. The problem wasn't that we stopped loving each other. The problem was that life had gotten so loud that we stopped hearing each other's hearts. And I wonder if that's where some of you are today. Not in a marriage without love, but in a marriage where life has become louder than love. If that's where you are, I'd love to share what that season eventually taught me. When I look back now, I smile at some of the things I thought were so important. I thought if the house was clean, I was doing a good job. If dinner was on the table, I was doing a good job. If the laundry was caught up, I was doing a good job. And don't get me wrong, those things mattered. They still matter. But somewhere along the way, I realized something. I had become so busy taking care of our life that I wasn't always taking care of us. there's a difference. I can remember standing in my kitchen one afternoon after I had cleaned the house. Dinner was almost finished. Everything on my list had been checked off, and I remember thinking, why don't I feel closer to Jake? Nothing was wrong. We weren't fighting. We weren't angry. We were simply busy. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the greatest danger to a marriage isn't conflict? Sometimes it's routine. Routine has a funny way of making us assume tomorrow will always be there. We'll talk this weekend. We'll go out next month. We'll spend time together after things slow down. The problem is, life rarely slows down on its own. We have to decide to slow it down. One of the sweetest lessons marriage has taught me is this: love grows where attention goes. Not expensive attention, not grand gestures, just simple, intentional moments. I remember one evening when I decided to leave the dishes in the sink for a little while. Now, if you're like me, that's not always easy. But I thought, the dishes will still be here in 30 minutes. So I went and sat beside Jake. We didn't have some deep, life-changing conversation. We just talked about our day, about something we'd seen on television, about the boys, about life. Looking back now, I don't remember exactly what we talked about, but I remember how it felt. It reminded me that before we were parents, before we were grandparents, before doctor's appointments, before responsibilities, we were simply a young man and a young woman who enjoyed being together. Sometimes I think that's what marriages need. Not another project, not another checklist, just a moment to remember we actually like each other. I know that may sound simple, but simple doesn't mean small. Simple things often become the strongest parts of a marriage. A cup of coffee on the porch, a ride to the grocery store, holding hands while walking through a parking lot, sitting together after dinner before turning on the television. Those moments don't seem important while they're happening, but years later, those are the moments I remember. Marriage has taught me that closeness isn't usually built during vacations. It's built on ordinary Tuesday afternoons, ordinary Friday evenings, ordinary Saturday mornings. That's where friendship grows. And I've learned something else. Friendship in marriage doesn't disappear because two people stop caring. Many times, it simply gets covered up by everything else demanding our attention. The beautiful thing is, what has been neglected can often be nurtured again. Not overnight, not perfectly, but one conversation at a time, one shared laugh at a time, one intentional moment at a time. That's how Jake and I found our way back to each other in those busy seasons. Not because we had a perfect marriage, but because we were willing to keep choosing the relationship that God had given us. You know, when you've been married as long as Jake and I have, you start realizing that marriage isn't one long season. It's a collection of seasons. Some seasons are full of laughter. Some seasons are full of worry. Some seasons are exciting. Some seasons are exhausting. And some seasons, you simply put one foot in front of the other and trust God to help you keep going. We've lived through a lot together. We've watched our family grow. We've celebrated birthdays and anniversaries. We've welcomed grandchildren into our lives. We've also walked through seasons I never imagined we'd face. Cancer, doctor's appointments, waiting rooms, uncertainty. Those seasons changed us, but they didn't have to separate us. If anything, they reminded me how precious ordinary days really are. You know what I miss the most when I look back? Not the vacations, not the holidays, not the expensive things. I miss the ordinary moments that I didn't know were becoming memories. Jake sitting in his chair while I cooked dinner, drinking coffee together before the day got busy, riding somewhere together with no real destination, watching television at the end of a long day. Those moments didn't seem important at the time, but today, those are some of the moments I treasure the most. That's why I want to encourage you today. Don't wait until everything is perfect before you enjoy your marriage. Don't wait until retirement. Don't wait until the children move out. Don't wait until life slows down. Because I've learned something. Life has a way of filling every empty space if we let it. There will always be another bill, another appointment, another responsibility, another reason to say, we'll spend time together next week. But next week has a way of becoming next month, and next month has a way of becoming next year. If I could sit across the table from every young wife, every middle-aged wife, every wife who's been married 40 or 50 years, I'd tell her this: protect the friendship. The friendship is what carries you when romance feels quiet. The friendship is what carries you through sickness. The friendship is what carries you through disappointment. The friendship is what reminds you why you chose each other in the first place. And if you're watching today and you feel like that friendship has become buried beneath life, please don't assume it's gone. Sometimes it simply needs a little attention, a little grace, a little patience. One conversation, one walk together, one cup of coffee, one evening without distractions. Marriage has taught me that little things become big things when we do them consistently. And I want to leave you with one final thought. There was a season when I thought a strong marriage meant never drifting apart. I don't believe that anymore. I think a strong marriage is one where two imperfect people notice they've started drifting and gently find their way back to each other, over and over and over again. Jake and I certainly haven't done everything perfectly. We've made mistakes, we've misunderstood each other, we've had seasons that were easier than others. But through it all, we've kept choosing to come back to the friendship that started it all. And if you're in a difficult season today, I hope you'll remember something that's become very dear to my heart. Don't let one season convince you it will always be this way. Because marriage has taught me that seasons change, hearts soften, people grow, understanding deepens, and sometimes the sweetest chapters are the ones you never saw coming. Thank you for spending a little time with me today. I never take it for granted that you invite me into your home. Until next time, take good care of your marriage, take good care of each other, and always remember, this is a season, not a sentence.